Now, connector construction. One of the biggest public works projects in Rhode Island history is right around the corner. Remember the massive Iway project?
Well, the state's top transportation official tells us the 610 connector overhaul will be even bigger than that. Let's give you a live look at the connector from our Jam Cam. Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Kelly Sullivan is taking an in-depth look at what you need to know about the project's plans, including how they'll affect drivers and how much it will cost you.
She's live in studio with the details that are only on Eyewitness News.
The head of Rhode Island's Department of Transportation tells me the bridges along the 610 connector are some of the busiest in the state. Now, they're also among those in the worst condition and could become a safety hazard if nothing is done. It connects Cranston with Providence, linking Route 95 to 295 and Connecticut. The 610 connector is a vital piece of infrastructure to Rhode Island's economy. Opened in the 1950s, RIDOT tells us the first major repairs were needed 30 years ago. But that never happened.
Because of poor planning or lack of funding, it has just been one of those things that has become the can that got kicked down the road.
And now that vital piece of infrastructure is crumbling away. The bridges on the 610, how bad are they?
15 years ago, they had to shore up sections of Route 6 and 10 with braces. And those braces themselves are beginning to decay.
High quality, well-maintained roads.
Last May, Governor Gina Raimondo announced her roadworks plan while standing under the 610 connector. That was no coincidence. About 10% of the plan's $4.8 billion budget will go to fixing the 610. One proposal would completely rebuild the existing infrastructure. So here are the numbers from RIDOT. In just over 1 mile of highway, they have to replace 9 bridges. Work would start in late 2018 and last roughly 8 years, all with a price tag of $500 million. But before construction begins, a new idea could completely change the look of the 610 and the west side of Providence.
2 lanes of cars, 2 lanes of buses with passing lanes and terminals, then 2 more lanes of cars, 2 lanes of bicycles, and then pedestrians in development.
A group called Move Together PVD is pushing the idea of transforming the connector into a boulevard with side streets and a rapid bus transit line. Design professor Jonathan Harris says the plan would reconnect neighborhoods divided by the highway and come at a lower cost than rebuilding.
We're looking at a green infrastructure. We're looking at using alternative transportation.
LVD says RIDOT is considering every option.
It is something that only comes along once in many decades that we want to make sure that we get right.
And so a public meeting on the Boulevard proposal will get underway in Providence in just about an hour. And coming up new at 6, we talk to a lawmaker who represents that section of Providence and find out what he wants to see happen in his district. I'm Kelly Sullivan, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Kelly, and she'll be back with more in-depth look at the pitch for the Boulevard proposal for the 610 connector when connector construction continues on Eyewitness News at 6.
Now, connector construction. RIDOT is getting ready to spend $500 million to repair 9 bridges along a mile of the 610 connector. As we showed you live at 5, another group wants the infrastructure to become a boulevard instead. A public forum on the issue is about to get underway in Providence, and as Eyewitness News anchor Kelly Sullivan has learned, the boulevard idea is already gaining some momentum. It's a story you'll see only on Eyewitness News.
Shannon, the 610 connector joins several areas together, but it closes off the west side of Providence. And some are saying this once-in-a-lifetime chance to finally fix the deteriorating structure should come with a new plan to include all areas surrounding the capital city. For 30 years, the 610 connector project has been on RIDOT's to-do list.
Well-maintained roads.
Now it's become a priority with Governor Gina Raimondo's roadworks plan, creating the funding for the $500 million project. But before the plan goes on paper, some believe the whole concept should change to a boulevard.
We believe we can get all that for a lot cheaper than they're proposing.
Design professor Jonathan Harris is part of Move Together PVD, a group that envisions a more neighborhood feel with a focus on public transportation and side streets off a boulevard.
And we get the cars, and we get connections back to the other neighborhoods, and we get about 70 acres of redevelopable land on this side of the city.
That side of the city, Senator Paul Jabbour says desperately needs a catalyst to help it move in the right direction.
We want to reinvigorate Federal Hill. We want to create a real system of getting in and out of our neighborhoods.
Jabbour tells us this plan could be the answer the area needs.
This may be the time where we try to connect it all and how we pass through a city that I think desperately needs a fix with the 6 and 10 connector.
The concept is wonderful.
RIDOT Director Peter Alviti says even his work groups looked at the 610 as a blank page and reconstructed a similar concept. It keeps lanes for vehicles, but adds another component that was never looked at in the past: space for public transportation.
We're looking at all of those as possibilities, maybe actually in combination with each other.
We've also reached out to many organizations and elected officials who say they're keeping an open mind. And right now, the first of several meetings is going on to allow residents to voice their opinions and concerns on the 610 connector project. RIDOT officials are also there, and Alviti tells me by April, he hopes to have the beginnings of a plan he can finally put on paper. I'm Kelly Sullivan, Eyewitness News.